Hello there, this is Out Motorsports. My name is Jake and this is the 2021 Lexus IS350 F-Sport. Lexus's IS has been known since it first came out in the late 90s, early 2000s as the brand's sports sedan. It has always been rear-wheel drive. It has always been sort of a competitor to the BMW 3 Series, and with the sedan lineup that Lexus has kind of shifting, the IS plays a much more prominent role for 2021 than it might have in the past. As we reviewed earlier this year, the Lexus GS is going away. The GS was historically a larger rear-drive sedan that also fit in the Lexus lineup. With the GS going away, Lexus now only has the IS, the ES, and the LS as their sedans. Now, the ES is going to be the bread and butter. It's front-wheel drive. It's more or less Camry, Avalon-sized, and it's what most Lexus buyers want. But for the enthusiast who wants to buy a Lexus that is good to drive, the IS has been and continues to be one of their better offerings. So let's talk about what the 2021 Lexus IS is, how it is as an F-Sport, and then we'll hop behind the wheel and see how it is to drive. All right, now as far as what the 2021 IS350 is, like I said, this is Lexus's smallest sedan. It has always been kind of that small, compact, entry-level Lexus sedan, but the ES was usually what most people thought of when they thought of entry-level Lexus. Well, the IS is officially taking that spot as the ES has grown over the years, and the IS is very firmly in that entry, compact sports sedan segment. Now that competes with cars like the BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4, the Genesis G70, the Alfa Romeo Giulia. They're all kind of this size. Now, Lexus did not take a completely clean sheet approach for 2021. This is a heavy refresh of the IS that's been on sale in the United States since 2014. They did not move this car to the TNGA platform that underpins a lot of new Toyotas and Lexuses. It is still on the platform from 2014. Now, that's not a bad thing. Lexus has worked to stiffen this whole car up, and they've worked to add lightness. Lightness is something that a lot of people don't think about. They always think about power and drive wheels and gears in the transmission and things like that. But reducing weight is one of the best ways to make a car handle better, have less wear and tear on consumables, and make more out of the power it already makes. And Lexus has worked to reduce weight in this car where they could. Every IS will come with lighter springs, lighter A-arms, and lighter sway bars or stabilizer bars. It's not a lot of weight, but as with anything, every little ounce and gram counts, and they have pulled weight where they could there. Now, unlike a lot of manufacturers, Lexus is offering 3 different engine options in this IS chassis. They offer a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder as the base engine offering. That is called the IS300. In the IS300, you can also step up to a detuned version of this 3.5-liter V6, and then if you get the IS350, you will get the most powerful variant of this 3.5, and they will all be considered the F-Sport. Any IS350 is an F-Sport car. In the past, you could get the F-Sport on any trim level or engine offering of the IS, and Lexus for 2021 decided to make the IS350 the only model that will be an F-Sport car. Now, going with the IS350 and the F-Sport means that Lexus is taking this stiffer, lighter, more powerful mantra and going a little bit further. You do have to get an optional dynamic handling package to get the most out of what they've done with this IS350 F-Sport, but regardless, any IS350 is going to have the most powerful version of the corporate 3.5-liter V6. This is the same engine that you find in things like the Camry, the Avalon, the Tacoma, the RX, but it's in different states of tune, different intakes, exhaust, things like that. It will perform differently and sound differently depending on what you buy it in. And in this IS350, it produces 311 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Now, this is a naturally aspirated V6. It is not turbocharged. A lot of people are claiming that it's not turbo, therefore it's outdated. Well, it might be a little bit, but it's a different offering in the segment. Most automakers are only going to offer a variant of a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder. Some of them, like BMW, might offer a turbocharged 6-cylinder, but Lexus has decided to keep it a little more old school, maybe a little more reliable, and it's just a different offering, and we'll get into how it drives, but it is certainly unique in the segment at this point. Now, like I said, every IS350 is considered an F-Sport, and just like with the IS300, you can have this car as rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. The model that Lexus sent me is all-wheel drive. I don't know if it's the one that I would choose, and we'll get into that in a minute, but you can have it as rear drive or all-wheel drive. If you have all-wheel drive, it is a 70% rear biased system. So it's 70 rear, 30 front, and the system can send up to 50% of the power and torque to the front axle. If you choose the rear-wheel drive variant of the IS350, this 3.5-liter V6 will be backed up to an 8-speed torque converter automatic with paddle shifters. If you choose the all-wheel drive variant, you're only going to get a 6-speed automatic. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's something worth noting. If you want the 8-speed, you must get a rear drive car. The all-wheel drive cars will have the 6-speed. Now, like I said, Lexus also has this dynamic handling package that beefs up the IS350 F-Sport a little bit more. That package is available on both rear drive and all-wheel drive cars. It is equipped on this all-wheel drive model that I have today. Now, what you get for that extra money, most notably, is an adaptive suspension system. You get shock absorbers that can stiffen up or loosen up based on the drive modes that you've got. And Lexus adds 2 more drive modes. There's a Sport S and a Sport S Plus that will be added on with the dynamic handling package that change the suspension tune more than anything else. You also get carbon fiber mirror caps and a carbon fiber rear spoiler stuck to the rear trunk lid. Those are nice. They're not really going to do a whole lot for you as far as performance is concerned. The other item that will go farther with performance is the set of wheels on the car. If you get the dynamic handling package, you get a special set of BBS wheels on the car that are 4 pounds lighter per wheel. And that's a big deal because Lexus removed 4 pounds per corner of unsprung weight. That is more the enemy than sprung, suspended weight. So if you can get a lighter set of wheels on the car, that will always help increase performance. So it's really nice to see Lexus doing something legit to help performance if you so choose. Now, the final option that will come with the dynamic handling package only will come on a rear-wheel drive car, which means this all-wheel drive model doesn't have it, but it is a Torsen limited slip differential out back. That will really help with putting the power down. Clearly, Lexus decided you don't need that, or they couldn't set it up with the all-wheel drive cars. Granted, with all-wheel drive, you got 2 more drive wheels pulling you forward to help with traction, and with a rear-wheel drive setup, that limited slip will help versus an open differential that just sends power to the wheel of least resistance. In any case, Torsen is optional if you get the dynamic handling package with rear-wheel drive. Now, it's worth mentioning, even with all of this adding lightness that Lexus has done for the 2021 IS, especially with the dynamic handling package, this is still a bit of a heavy car. In all-wheel drive form, this car weighs about 3,880 pounds. That is heavy compared to some of the other cars in the segment that are 100 or 200 pounds lighter. So yes, this car does make more power than some of those, given that 311 horsepower from the corporate 3.5 V6, but it's going to weigh more, which means your performance may end up being less of a gap than you would think on some of the cars that are lighter but technically slower. Of course, if you don't get all-wheel drive, you do save quite a bit of weight. You save about 130 pounds, which is a big deal. So again, we'll get into how the car drives and some different elements of the all-wheel drive setup, but given it adds weight, you lose the Torsen limited slip, I don't know if it's necessarily the most beneficial thing. Everyone wants all-wheel drive. We have sold all-wheel drive as a marketing tool, but the fact that Lexus is selling a new car with rear-wheel drive, 300 plus horsepower, and a limited slip diff out back, plus all of the other things they've done to beef up performance with the adaptive suspension, the lighter wheels, things like that, I think that's more the sweet spot of what to purchase if you're really looking for the performance-oriented driver's Lexus. All right, so with all that, it's another cold day. We're in the middle of winter. Let's hop behind the wheel and see how this IS350 F-Sport is to drive. All right, so driving the 2021 Lexus IS350 F-Sport. So like I said, this has the 311 horsepower version of that 3.5 V6 that you find in a lot of other Toyotas and Lexuses. The way they've got it tuned as far as how it makes power, how it makes noise is really, really lovely in this car. And you know, yes, it's got the all-wheel drive, and it's only got the 6-speed as a result. It's only got the open diff in the back as a result. It's still, the fundamentals are here. It's really, really good. The sound in particular is just tremendously nice when you start ripping on it. The exhaust noise, the induction noise from about 4,000 RPM all the way up is just really nice. So yeah, if you really get in it, the noise that it makes here is just, it's just a nice sound. And a lot of people are, I think, giving this car a little bit of unfair crap because it's naturally aspirated and it's an old V6. The power builds in this nice swelling fashion as you lay on the throttle and wait. It's really interesting, it's really fun. No, it's not a turbo motor. don't need it. It's just a nice option here. As far as the rest of the car, the steering feels pretty good, the brakes feel pretty good. I don't love the all-wheel drive setup. And the reason for that is, number one, you have this massive hump on the floor right behind your right foot for your throttle. And that's gonna be for that differential that sends the power to the front axle. If you don't have the all-wheel drive, you're not gonna have that to deal with. If you get the rear drive car, you don't have to deal with that. The other couple things with the all-wheel drive setup is that it's gonna also be a heavier car, and you don't get that Torsen limited slip diff in the rear. And as much as I like all-wheel drive in certain scenarios, I think for most people, the rear-wheel drive car is gonna be the more fun one. It's gonna be the more performance-oriented one. Yes, all-wheel drive might help in bad weather, but so does a set of snow tires. Now with this car, it's also worth noting the competition that it faces. Like I said, the compact sports sedan segment is kind of a hot one, even though sedans in general seem to be dying off a little bit. But you've got a lot of competition here. You've got the 3 Series, you've got the A4, you've got the Genesis G70, you've got the Alfa Romeo Giulia. Everything is pretty good in different ways, and Lexus, I think this IS350 F-Sport is also pretty good. The one thing that I don't love, other than that hump for the all-wheel drive, is that it feels tight in here. And I don't know if other vehicles in the segment necessarily feel quite as small. I think Lexus is doing what they can with the older platform. Like I said, this car has been redesigned or heavily refreshed twice on the same chassis that's from 2014. So certain hard points of where the dashboard is mounted, the seats, the console, all of that, they have to stick with it to a certain extent. And they can only go so far in a redesign. But it does turn in nice, it exits a corner well. It feels pretty confidence-inspiring, even with the extra weight, even with, you know, everything that's a little bit different with the all-wheel drive variant versus the rear drive. I think both of them are good options if you're really looking for one of these cars. You just have to decide what matters to you more. All right, and that is it for this review of the 2021 Lexus IS350 F-Sport with all-wheel drive. Thank you so much for coming along with us today. As always, we would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and of course, give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram if you like what we're up to. 2021 is shaping up to be a really exciting, really big year, and we would love to have you along for the ride. As I've mentioned before, we also have a membership program. If you were looking to connect with other LGBT automotive enthusiasts, no matter what sort of automotives you're into, please check us out at outmotorsports.com. We would love to meet you and have you be welcomed to the family. There will also be a written review of this IS350 at outmotorsports.com. That will be linked in the description below. As always, please drive safe, be well. We hope you had a great holiday season, and we'll see you again soon.